Hello class, we are the Sheb Studios. I'm Connor Hess, the chief videographer. To my right is Niko Cvitanic, the executive producer, and to my left is Sean Flood, the senior reporter. And today we'll be covering the Second Amendment.
This amendment covers the right for people to bear arms and regulate small-town militias.
For how outdated of a law this may be, it is a very hot topic in today's world.
Just last year, 33,168 deaths were related to firearm incidents. If we were to regulate more gun laws or restrict them altogether, the number could be decreased substantially.
However, guns are a great source of protection and save many innocent lives.
In this video, we will be interviewing an FBI agent and the general public to discover people's true opinions on the matter. Hello, I'm Sean Flood.
Hi, Sean. I'm Linda Dozer.
Nice to meet you.
I'm an FBI agent.
Alright, I'm going to ask you a series of questions.
Okay.
How do you feel that being an FBI agent, what type of impact does that have on your life?
Well, being an FBI agent is number one, the greatest job on this planet. But number two, since I know, Sean, that you're interested in discussing guns and firearms, it is a profession that you are required to carry your gun. And it certainly, with my training, has made me more aware of gun safety and gun laws and carrying my gun pretty much all the time.
How has a firearm been of use in your profession?
Well, as I said, carrying a firearm is required. And the reason it's required is that criminals carry firearms. And when we are confronted with deadly force, which a gun is, we're authorized to use deadly force. I've only had a couple situations where I've had to arrest people at gunpoint, but it was people that were like bank robbers and they had committed a violent crime. So it's definitely something that I think law enforcement and the military needs to have to kind of equal the playing field between who you're dealing with.
How do you feel a firearm has affected you negatively?
Well, firearms are, people talk about guns, and firearms are such serious things. There are so many issues that are connected with firearms. Mental health issues, criminal issues, carrying a weapon. For me personally, having a weapon and storing it safely in my house with children has always been an issue. Quite frankly, carrying it sometimes on vacation is an issue. I like having a firearm. I feel secure, and unfortunately, in this crazy world, I carry it more often than I don't.
How do you feel about the gun control laws that California has put in place?
Well, the good news is California has taken gun control laws, and like so many things in California, I think California is really progressive, and the restrictions that California has placed on the Second Amendment are great. Waiting periods in order to buy a gun and ensuring that there are background checks before someone buys a gun that might have a criminal record, that might have been mentally ill at one point. Those two classes of people can't own firearms, and California is really good about restricting that.
Do you feel that every state should have these gun control laws in place?
Yeah, I strongly believe that every state should have gun control laws. And I think the biggest problem is, while you have the Second Amendment, which is the law of the land, you've got states that have individual state rights, and they can decide what their gun control laws consist of. And quite frankly, California is the strictest. We have the most stringent gun control laws, and that's great. But not every state is that way. And I think in those states it's troubling that you often hear about the loopholes that deal with buying a gun at a gun show. And you can get it almost immediately in some states. I think that there's a lot of problems. I believe in the Second Amendment, and I believe people should have the right to bear arms, but I think there should be restrictions.
How does having criminals armed with guns change how you view catching a criminal?
You always, I think, as a law enforcement officer or an FBI agent, you always have to assume that someone is armed for your own safety. When I go out and I interview people, I have to be aware that, they could at any moment, especially if they're mentally ill or if they're a criminal, they could pull a gun on me. And quite frankly, criminals will always have guns. They will be able to get them. You can enact every restriction on this planet and they will get guns, and they will have them.
Other than for official or government use, do you believe that guns should be banned completely?
Absolutely not. That's crazy. You're basically saying that, number one, we should abolish the Second Amendment. While I totally 100% agree that there should be restrictions, and I think there should be good common sense restrictions like California has, even stringent restrictions. So by trying to ban the average citizen from having a gun, it's not going to be effective. I think the restrictions are good.
Well, thank you for doing this interview with us. We appreciate your time. Thank you,
Sean,
Mrs.
it was a
Dozer.
pleasure. Thank you.
Our overall question is simple. Should guns be banned from ordinary citizens? Let's dive into the different perspectives. On one side, it is the Second Amendment, and a right we have as citizens of the United States. Studies show that fewer than 2% of fatal gun accidents occur during defensive gun use. Also, the rate of occupied burglaries in Britain and the Netherlands, where gun ownership is low, is approaching 45%. In the United States, where gun ownership is high, the figure is less than 13%.
On the other side, guns do cause a lot of problems. Firearms are the third leading cause of all deaths among young people. They accounted for 40% of all homicides between 1998 and 2003, and 1.1 billion in gunshot wounds resulting from homicides and assaults. So, not only do guns account for a large amount of deaths, they also cost a lot of money on top of actually buying them.
After an extremely long and intense interview, my team and I wandered the streets, gathering people's input on the subject.
Yes.
Do you have time to take part in a quick interview?
Oh my God, no.
Alright, so what are your thoughts on the Second Amendment, also known as gun rights?
My thoughts on gun rights are that we should have guns to protect ourselves, obviously.
Alright. What are your guys' thoughts on the Second Amendment?
I believe in the Second Amendment. I believe that as an American, we should have the right to defend ourselves and have firearms in our homes.
Oh my goodness. Is it safe?
Ready?
Hit it.
So what are your thoughts on the Second Amendment, otherwise known as gun rights?
I believe that they should be more strictly enforced because there's been so many gun shootings in the past couple of years, and I feel like there's not that much control.
Hey, would you like to interview? No? Alright.
Guns were created for the sole purpose of killing, first of all, okay? Not guns, are called weapons, alright? Not toys. They need to be handled very responsibly. Because you have the intent of killing an animal or killing a person, you don't need to have them. Okay? So gun rights, we don't really need guns, do we? Need weapons? No, I don't think we do.
Everyone should possess a gun.
Everyone? Alright, thank you.
To conclude, we found that based on our interviews, the majority of people in Santa Barbara are pro-gun control. They generally seem to believe that there should be extensive safety regulations for guns so that we can avoid terrorist attacks. However, while they wanted restrictions, they were completely okay with people owning guns.
Although most of the people we interviewed were pro-gun control, some believe that we should remove guns completely.
However, as Agent Dozer said, making guns illegal will only make the guns harder to obtain, but will not get rid of guns permanently. We'll never be able to keep guns out of the hands of people who are most dangerous. So, if we only take guns from the law-abiding citizens, preventing them from protecting themselves.
To conclude, we believe that there should be very harsh restrictions on guns, but they shouldn't be removed completely.
The people we interviewed are mostly in agreement with us, believing that a world with restrictions on guns is a happy and safe world to live in.
Yes!
one.